because you haven't been here for literally every show like Gaiax has. My name is Mr. Schnugendorf. Welcome to the Bull Rush. I am joined as always by Mr. Wolfman and Mr. Noirbot, but we are unfortunately out without our two guests today. They couldn't make it for whatever reason, but we are going to call out the audible and start going on to some new or different topics this week. There's still tons to talk about, and one of the biggest things that me and Wolfman have been experiencing as we've been playing a considerable amount recently is the current state of balance and just general how everyone's playing the game and how it's evolving with the massive amounts of new players popping in.
The NA meta has changed so much. I don't know about EU because I've only played like 2 or 3 games. And if you're not sure how that's possible, what you can do is if you have a party on Xbox, if the host is connected to the EU server, you will actually transfer to their server.
So you've been playing on EU the entire time?
No, that's not true because I don't party all the time.
Lies, damn lies.
A lot. I play with Persistent, and he's fucking amazing.
Nice.
Persistent, the only Griselda player.
Yeah.
Not so much anymore. People have been playing Griselma a lot more recently with her changes because, well, honestly speaking, she's actually really strong.
Which you would not believe if you listened to Persistent.
Yeah, no. I played about 4 games with her, 3 or 4 games with her last night, mainly because, screw my phone,
That's the reason.
Mainly because I did get a fortune card saying, "Hey, with 3 games is Griselma." So I won.
Shmoo, was Griselma blowing up your phone last night?
Griselma was blowing up my phone. She wanted to get in on that.
Hey girl, you want that
2 a.m. She was calling for that booty call. But no, she's gotten a lot stronger recently, and we're starting to see that with a lot of people. And again, like Persistent would say, "Oh, no, not really." But I feel like, and we kind of said this a little bit before when we talked about Griselma balance and as we talked as hero balance, Griselma and Vidasi kind of fit into that weird place between being capable of being broken beyond all hell and just being worthless. And the balance is so weird with them that you either get one or the other, and it's hard to hit that space in between. Vidasi especially, because...
Well, I contend that Vidasi is less of a problem than,
obviously you haven't played against Vidasi.
Well, no. I mean, not that she isn't a problem, like, the way she's balanced right now, but in the sense that, like, I don't feel like Vidasi poses the same kind of balance problem that, like, Griselma and Amani pose. In the sense that Vidasi has balance problems, but she is kind of a self-contained entity. Right? Like, Vidasi is... So, Griselma is highly dependent on what the map looks like, and whether or not defending points is a viable strategy.
Or whether or not she's being backed up by team members.
Well, but, I mean, so, like, I'm talking about this purely if we were talking about 1v1 matchups. Like, just one person on each side. Griselma has external factors related to the map design, related to, like...
her setup before the fight.
Yeah, whether or not creatures are strong enough to defend themselves, all that kind of stuff, determines whether or not Griselma is a strong character. And Amani, on the same way, whether or not...
She's able to get into a good position.
Yeah, whether or not she has positions, how much range fall off there is on, like, things like taking wounds, that kind of stuff, drastically changes how powerful Griselma and Amani are. Whereas, like, Vidasi is hard to balance, but, like, potentially could be balanced within her own kit in a way that would work across the entire game and in any party.
Yeah, that's very true. And at the moment, she's something else.
Something else.
It's a very specific build.
She's really good now.
She is particularly strong.
Hashtag Vidasi is currently the best shooter in the game.
Right.
with the single highest damage output the single highest DPS output at the longest range physically possible. And
wait, long range? What's...
It's a little...
Oh, you build her so she gets the fireballs back.
You do fireball,
right?
And yes, you do fireball and burn enemies near the fireball.
Oh, I've been running her with the she still has the beam, which is also disgustingly high damage.
That's also high damage, but it's not. It's at a shorter range.
Yeah. Oh,
But yeah,
the
I
orange
think
juice popping in here.
I mean,
Strong.
Vidasi, I think, just is going to have. She's going to be hard to
sick
balance
with
just
it.
because she straddle like a lot of characters in Gigantic. It's going to be hard to make both her damage side and her healing side both viable at the same time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, like, I think where she is right now is like if they, you know,
If they nerf her survivability.
yeah. Well, absent the other things like. Absent her comparative balance to other characters, if they buffed her healing a little bit, she would actually be in a really cool place in terms of you could legitimately choose like, do you go healing spec Vidasi or damage spec Vidasi? And like I think that's like actually kind of what they want to go for. I think that maybe they
So
swung
maybe
the
change a few
pendulum
of
too
her
hard.
upgrade paths to make it so that way, she is going for either, increased healing upgrade paths. So it's like, oh, one of your upgrades on your left mouse button is you do drastically more healing.
Yeah.
Something like that. So that way you do have that legitimate decision. I feel like, and I don't play Vidasi, so I don't 100% know, but I feel like you could still choose to have a good amount of healing, but not really fall off too much in damage right now.
Yeah, that's the
Yeah.
current problem is the fact that she
Yeah,
does
there's no
a
trade.
lot of damage, and the healing is still potent enough to actually be good. Like it's just it's
Well,
a little,
or-
it's a
I mean,
little
the-
bit sad. Like
The thing I kept running into, and like evidently I wasn't even running the good build, but I kept running into issues with her where I would be like, oh man, someone's like about to die on my team, and I'd start healing them, and then like I wouldn't be healing, and I was like, wait, no, it's more effective for me to just kill the person that's doing damage to them than to heal them through the damage, because like I was doing more damage. Like if it was like me and like Beckett versus like a Margrave, I was doing more damage to Margrave than Beckett was doing. And so, like, me healing her was actually a net negative to our combat effectiveness.
yeah,
Pretty much.
And it's funny because the only reason that's a thing now is because they reduced the tick rate of the healing, so it still heals the same over time. It just does it at slightly delayed intervals. So like the healing I think per second, or rather I think it was a healing per half second, and now it's a healing per second. So
Okay.
yeah,
I don't know if I like that. I don't know.
Could be good.
I mean, I feel like, yeah, I mean, obviously we're getting into a little into the weeds here.
Yeah.
About, like, specific balance changes. I don't know. I think, honestly, I think Gigantic is, like, right now, I think the balance isn't necessarily in a horrible place with a couple of exceptions.
Yeah, I mean, there are some heroes that are, very much just absolutely broken. But what we
but
are
like-
seeing...
Sorry.
But I think the other thing is you look at a game like Gigantic, like you even compare this to, I don't know, you compare it to like League of Legends or Dota or like any other game. Like you look at like League of Legends right now and people are like burning the building down about how broken like Fiora is. And it's like they've been working on this game for like 5.5 years and this character's been out for like a year now in
Yeah.
this particular form.
Fiora.
And like
Oh, okay.
and Fiora is now
Okay.
like at
I was about to
100%
say.
pick. Like Gangplank's the same place. And it's like I feel like it's somewhat like balance issues are always going to be a thing that everyone is always going to be able to complain about somewhere because like it's never going to be perfect. So like I think the balance issues are fun to talk about, but somewhat separate from like I guess I feel like people are reading too much into the state of the balance of the game and being like, oh my god, they can't balance the game. Like Gigantic is a horrible game and like should never be released or something. And it's like,
Well-
no, like balance. Like there are plenty of like perfectly successful games that have balance issues that it's as long as it's transient and they're working on it. Like I don't see that being a problem.
Yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
it's hard with a game like Gigantic because of the upgrade path system. Someone somewhere is gonna find something that's incredibly broken and take advantage of it. The prime example is a person we all know and love named Skoogie, who's discovered like 3 or 4 builds on 3 or 4 separate heroes that are all incredibly broken, and like he is the reason why they've gotten nerfed. Like it's amazing how like you just kind of take like I guess that also promotes like a bit of a good thing too, because it kind of forces people to be like, well, this is what everyone builds, but I want to try this just to see how
Yeah.
it works. And you'll see that the recent changes, a lot of people have been running the poison grenade on Beckett now just because of how strong the current healing meta is. It's just
Yeah.
like the outgoing healing reduction on a poisoned target is just so incredible and that's why you kind of see a lot of Voden players now too.
Yeah.
When you can poison and contagion an entire enemy team, like that's 50% reduced healing across the entire board. Like that's huge in this current state of the game, where bloomers are on forward points and even middle points like the river, like just like that bloomer pool where it spawns on the bridge, like on the enemy base side. That's like what?
Yeah, that's
like
the thing.
90 healing a second for a baby bloomer, 135 healing a second for adult boomers in enemy territory.
It's not even so much in enemy territory because it is still central on the map, but what it is a beautiful staging point for pressuring into the forest. You know, that was one of the big reasons previously why people wouldn't go for river, was because it was almost impossible to stage an attack from river into enemy forest versus from altar, where you had that direct sight line even. I mean, that was back when we still had the windows there at the staircase, so you could shoot directly out there. And you still have one, but I mean, one, please. You still have the ability to shoot out there, but we used to be able to have, you know, like an HK and an Amani sitting back there and just poking down attacks onto the forest, and then just throw in 2 assassins and a Margrave and be able to take that point pretty easily, be able to push in pretty hardcore onto forest points or onto guarded points just by having altar. And then also making it equally as unattackable, just incredibly defensible position because of how choked out it is. But now we have those same things with river. You know, there's really only one way into river because they put up the wall. You can't jump up from the river anymore. You can't really jump down. You can't attack down if people are, you know, deciding they don't want to be attacked by somebody from up above. You know, they have to come in from the one direction. In addition to that, we now have a great staging point to go ahead and attack Garden from, which is straight on top of the staircase leading into forest. There's still the giant rock there. Like, you have to go around the rock. You can't just go ahead and attack the enemy.
Yeah, but the rock itself, I think it's actually
right there.
Yeah.
Well, I think the other thing is the rock itself almost acts as an offensive measure, because it means like you can't stand like back, like if you have a bloomer on forest, you can't stand next to your bloomer and see whether or not people are coming to attack you.
What it actually really is useful, because if you pay attention a little bit to where like the healing pools for allied, you know, bloomers on those forests are, there's one healing pool right off to the right hand side. If you're attacking in onto enemy forest, there's that pool off to the one side, but not to the back end of the point. So you could pressure your way into the back end of the point, and they're going to attack you from there. They're going to stand on that point. They're not getting their healing from the 90%, or for that 90 per tick, you know, healing from their bloomer from standing on top of that point. So it does, in a sense, create this, you know, like a buffer area for siegers to go ahead and siege that point and just sit there, you know, during an attack, or decide, you know what? Screw that. I'm just going to leave and walk literally 5 feet in the other direction to get my healing back.
Yeah. You just got to go down that little digit of the stair onto that balcony area. You're getting healed for so much. And
which is why we're starting to see that, you know, new metas are popping up. You know, new strategies are becoming more viable than they were before. You know, this to us, you know, seeing people fight vehemently and hardcore over river is so strange to us. It's almost foreign, because back in the day, what was the point? You just stick an Amani or even a Charnock or a Mozu or an HK, anybody with range really, up onto catwalk, and that point is worthless now. Utterly worthless.
Well, yeah,
but now
it just gives you a vantage point to shoot down and rain death for anybody
exactly
there.
Now
and
we don't have that issue.
But you kind of do the same thing, and the only thing that changed was those bloomer pools, and it's so amazing how such a small detail can change the entire thing. To the
Welcome
point
to map design.
where it seems like altar is more or less worthless now. Like, no one really defends it that much.
What I think is more prudent now, and this is something we had a little bit of testing with last night in my stream, when we had Failco, I had Bone, I had a couple other people who we were all queued together. We had me and one other person, it was Trip and Griselma, go up and take altar. Now, I don't know who you are, I don't care what you are, I don't care what you do with your life, you're not going to attack a 3-hand stacked Griselma on altar. It's not going to happen.
Yeah,
you're not going to do it. But what they did do was we had 3 of our team members go and attack on river. This was at the beginning of the game. Now, they sent pretty much everybody on their team to go to river. which meant that now we have the ability for me and Trip to go and take their forest while they're still fighting our team at river. So what we're seeing is Alter can become more of a staging point for backcapping, more of a staging point for flanking maneuvers, rather than a main centerpiece of the map, which is what we saw before, and where river was the flanking maneuver. So it's more of a role reversal, and it's still useful. It definitely is still useful, but I'll agree with Wolfie in this, is that many people don't really tend to attack Alter. They don't defend on Alter really too much.
Well,
which,
I think it's also it's so easy to defend Alter now. Like the tactic I always see is like, in the same way that like Bloomer has kind of become mandatory on River, Alter has become like a mandatory point for dropping a Cyclops on.
Cyclops
because
choke it out.
walling off the Cyclops forces everyone up next to the water into Clash Point, and it's it's like,
it's easy to cliff
everyone's
people into that.
Well, you can clip people into it, but it's also like the perfect
Everyone's right
lineup
there,
for like an Amani focus, a Charnock focus.
But
it's
here's
like
the
they're
thing.
all funneled into this tiny little code, and you
Here's
can,
the
or like
interesting
HK has
thing.
piercing.
Yeah, the interesting thing with that, though, is we, as Team Ampersand back in the beta tournament, when we still had that, the Cyclops wall blocking that off, and we had to go off to the side, we were still able to use that position as a solid advancing point. You know, we could attack it and go into there, so it really depends on, team coordination, which is difficult to do inside of a solo queue environment. So I'll agree with you saying that it is incredibly difficult to attack that point unless you have full team coordination.
Oh,
but
sure.
that's to be the same with any point. But here's the thing. That's why no one's going to attack Alter in a solo queue environment unless no one else is on it.
I think what it is Alter has become the equivalent. I feel like I constantly end up making LoL comparisons. I feel like Alter has become the equivalent of mid tower in LoL. So like if you watch like competitive League of Legends, you always take like there's 3 lanes, and you almost always see the outer 2 lanes towers go down first. Because they're off in a corner, and it's hard to get down to them to defend them.
Yeah.
And so mid tower ends up becoming either one team is far enough ahead that they're just like, well, screw it, we don't want to take all the way in. So like we'll just go take mid, or it's we just wiped the other team, but it's too early to like win the game or really take a major objective. So mid tower is like kind of it's not a game-winning objective, but it's like well, we have like 4 people up and they're all dead, so let's just go take mid. And I feel like Alter's the same way, because you don't
sort of
contest
mechanic
it.
with that. Yeah, you don't really contest it, but what also happens to it is a staging point. Say you go ahead and you win a team fight somewhere, near river, on their forest or whatever, and you get pushed, but you're not exactly healthy enough. Your number one place to want to have, be able to turn to is Alter if you've got the push, and that's it. Alter is also a very solid point to go for push from, because you've got the secret right there. It's also the only direct line into the enemy base without having to go through several obstacles, such as the big rock, a creature, and probably most of the enemy team, if they're, being smart and wanting, hey, look, defend forest always, Instead, you go through that line. Now you only have the enemy team to worry about, and if you're quick enough, you don't have to really worry about the enemy team until you get back to the Guardian.
Yeah.
So Alter is still the king of push. If you're going to go for a wound, you want Alter. If you're going for what I would call EU strats, which is don't go for push ever, don't go for a wound ever.
So true.
Just sit on river. Don't do anything except sit on river. Demoralize the enemy team the entire way through, and if you can, send an assassin back to go for push. Doesn't matter if they die. You still got 4 people sitting on top of your adult bloomer at river. Who cares? Right?
So essentially, it's like it's safety strats. It's
exactly.
We'll
the battle
get
of attrition.
every push. We'll get every push. Like we're not going to actually capitalize on them, but we're just going to get Guardian damage only on every push for the entire game until we get to Clash, and then we'll just beat up on you.
Exactly. And
interesting.
the problem with that
seems
though,
viable.
It is viable, but the problem with that is it almost requires your team to be built around being a Clash team. If you can't do it, then you're screwed. Pretty much, because if you can't win in Clash, then your entire domination early is pointless unless you are all level 10 and they're all level 6 or 7.
Which is unlikely. I mean,
incredibly unlikely, because you're
it's
elongating the game out for such a long period of time. And even then, 6 or 7, you're coming to, for most heroes, you're getting to the peak of where you're most effective. I'd say 5 to 6, or 5, 6, and 7 are probably where, upgrades beyond that point don't necessarily matter. There's 2 skills on every hero where it's like, boom, go, win. But, beyond that, it's like, whatever, you could say, like, for Trip, for example, there are people who build Trip differently than me, but on Trip, for me, I go for the Q kick upgrade and then go for my left mouse button upgrades. Yes, I can still feel useful at level 6 and 7 getting my right mouse button upgrades to where I break armor and do more damage after I hit them with my daggers, but generally speaking, at level 5 or 6, I'm effective enough to do my job for the rest of the game as Trip. And it's the same way with Taito. You get your Q upgrades, so where you do tons of bleeding or cripple or just tons of damage with your Q, and you get your focus increase, increased generation of focus on left mouse button, and you're good for the rest of the game, pretty much. You don't have to really do too much from there. Same with Margrave. You get your stun, you get your left mouse button combo, boom, you're good for the rest of the game. It's so many heroes where that's the case. So unless they're level 3, level 4, and you're going into Clash at level 7 or 8, any lead that you gain is kind of worthless.
Well, and I think the other thing is Clash is now, it's hard, because of the way, and obviously all of this we're talking about Mistforge, but not Mistforge, Sanctum Falls. I think one of the things that's changed with Clash there is the way the creatures move into Clash is now less defensible. Like, now that you have that one point that moves into, like, dead center in front of your Guardian.
Yep.
Like, all of the points in Clash are now much harder to defend than they used to be. And I think that leads to, like, it makes it a little bit more risky to go for, like, we're going to stall out and go for Clash team.
Yeah.
Like, it's possible, but
and
before
really,
you could always bank on having, like, a bloomer and that weird back point next to your Guardian. And it was, like, super safe because your Guardian, like, easily defended it every time.
Yeah, and you can still kind of go for that, but what I'm seeing people do is, Clash creature positions are 100% being affected, or are affecting what people will summon during the game. People want to have a bloomer on that central point because it's probably the only way you're going to have the ability to defend it 100%. Beyond having like a Yeti Cyclops or a Storm Drake on top of it, but once you do that, then you have to go ahead and say, hey, now we need to find a better place for a bloomer, and nobody wants to put a bloomer in the Ruin Tower because freaking now you have to walk all the way around to get to your healing pools. You can't fight on that point because it's so cornered off, it's in a block, you can't really fight on that point and get the
it's so
beam
dangerous.
upgrades and it's incredibly dangerous. You don't want to put it at altar because if you put it at altar, that's, it's out of the way. Nobody's going to want to go there and attack there, and you also leave your entire front line completely open if you decide to go ahead and defend on altar, if you decide that that's where your central rotation point is, so you don't want to put anything there. So really then you're left to go ahead and put Bloomer at Bell if you're going to put something like a Yeti or a Storm Drake at center, which is still out of the way. Nobody wants to do that. So what people will tend to do is put that Bloomer at center, and then upgrade Bell, or probably leave Bell, almost. People will try and upgrade Bell, but I would say leave Bell. Leave Bell unupgraded so that just in case for the worst does happen, you do lose your Bloomer, you've got somewhere you can go back, and now you're not leaving your front lines exposed because you don't have a front line anymore. Leave that unupgraded, put your Storm Drake and Yeti Cyclops, whatever, on the Ruin Tower because now there's even less of a reason for anybody to go in there, and then play the game around getting the power orbs. And that's what we're seeing. It's causing, in-game, pre-Clash gameplay to be completely changed. Because before, you would always upgrade your back points first. You would always want to have, Cyclops at statues. You'd always want to have, Cyclops even back at Bell or Cerberus or something. And you would almost always upgrade those first because it's the safest ways. Now what we're seeing people do is upgrading stuff like River first because it's so strong to have that early game. And also because no one's going to touch that in Clash. No one's going to touch that in Clash.
And I think all of this is just things where this is exactly, this is the kind of changes that both come from the meta having time to develop, having more people around to innovate on it, and then also just some definite like map and behavior changes in the game. I don't know. I think we're in a good place. We're starting to see much faster and more interesting iteration on the gigantic meta, and it's going to be cool to see where it goes going forward from here.
Yeah. And that was one of the big issues we had previously when talking about meta discussion, was because we're like, oh, well, there's really not that many people playing, and it's really early in the game to talk about meta and whatnot. And we were talking about the meta this week being pretty much the same as next week, but different, then one person comes up with a strange strategy that's like, oh, wow, new meta, So, but now
and I think
we're in this heavy experimental phase, which we didn't see before because there weren't enough people playing from different backgrounds to really facilitate this kind of rapid meta growth.
Well, and I think the other thing that contributes to that, and this is something we actually mentioned a little bit in the pre-show, is a lot of the major competitive teams have kind of not necessarily like disappeared, but have like fallen out of prominence, partially because there are so many more people playing and that the streamer community has come up. So, like, now, like, the people that are the public face of how Gigantic is played is not necessarily, like, Clashpoint. It's going to be people like, like you, or like Failco, or, BBG, or, like, some of the other, I don't even know, from Zero, who I guess is on a competitive team. But, like, it's going to be random streamers who may or may not be incredibly, like, actually good at the game. And so, you're starting to see meta developments being done by people that are, like, lower elo at where you can try crazier things.
An insult? Sir? Were you insulting my ability to play the game?
Because like essentially when the meta development community was like the 4 competitive teams playing against each other, it was super insular.
Team 84 or whatever.
Yeah. Everyone was just playing each other and scrimming each other, which means you weren't developing strategies for the game as a whole. You were developing strategies to like beat Synergy, or you were developing strategies to beat Clashpoint.
Or Warpath.
Whereas now you're kind of having to develop strategies that beat an arbitrary team that I'm running to on solo queue.
Or to win every game on solo queue.
Exactly, which is a very different... Like, I would imagine the competitive meta is still relatively similar, and probably because the competitive meta is better if you assume everyone on the other team is good and you have communication with everyone on your team.
Yeah.
But given that is not the case...
Random question then. Would you say that now we're finally seeing what almost every other competitive game has, which is a severe disconnect between a competitive meta and a solo meta?
Yes. I mean, I think that was inevitable, right? Like, it was inevitable because before there was no public representation of low elo play.
Yeah.
Right? Like, no one got to, like, outside of you literally watching your own games, no one got to watch people who were bad at the game play the game.
Yeah. And in addition to that, you really don't have, you didn't have that sort of sense of, people actually legitimately solo queuing. Before it was, the beta tests would go up, and the people that were solo queuing were generally that small group of like 50 or so people that all knew each other, and would all be in the game box. So you're playing up against people that who are in game box with each other. Yes, it's still a solo queue environment. People are screwing around. They're having fun. But you still have coordination. You still have team play. And almost every single one of those people has a sense of what's going on in the competitive meta.
Yep.
So the solo queue meta was directly influenced by that competitive meta. So there really wasn't a disconnect. And we see that, in competitive games nowadays. League of Legends LCS is always affecting the solo queue meta, but that doesn't necessarily mean that they're the same.
And vice versa. Like, there are times like I'm having this like thing where like I don't actually play League of Legends that much, but like my roommate does, and so I keep having times where like we'll be watching LCS, or like I'll be watching it, and like he'll look over and he'll be like, "Oh, they're playing Fiora, like why?" Because he plays Darius, like is his main. He's like, "I trash Fioras." I'm like, "Yeah," and you're at like 1100 elo.
Yeah.
Fiora has like a 75% win rate in the LCS right now, but evidently she's utter trash at like his tier of play, and like that's gonna happen. You're gonna have that stratification, and that's cool. Like, for some extent, this is validating like something I've always suspected, which is Motiga's balance is better than people were giving it credit for, because no one was seeing how good the balance was for people who weren't like alpha tier,
Yeah.
like, you know, I play 8 hours a day players. Like,
Which
the game is much
kind of,
more balanced.
we kind of saw that a little bit last night in my stream, where we were playing, you know, with me, Failco, we have guys Severed Bone, Hammer of Light, if you recognize him. You know, these players who have been playing for at least beta, you know, all are pretty good at the game, and we're all playing together. Yeah, we're having a good time and whatnot, but the last couple of games we were playing were rough games. They were tough. We were playing against people who, you know, are new, but are good, you know, and we're able to play heroes that were balanced well against us. And even if we were playing, you know, broken builds, even if we were doing things like on Mozu, I'm not proud of it. I'm going to say it. I'm using the reset bug because I can. To get the max amount of damage out of Mozu. But, you know, I'm still having a hard time playing against these people who are actually legitimately understanding, hey, look, kill Mozu. Hey, look, let's find out where and when Trip is attacking and kill Trip. People are actually legitimately learning how to play the game.
Yeah, and that's a good thing. And going back to Perry's example of current heroes that are good at specific areas of the game, like you can kind of see that with the two that come to my mind are Griselma and Nasus. You can see Griselma and Nasus all over the place in solo queue, and they'll just completely wreck everything because it's like, oh, it's Nasus. He's just like a big bull guy, and he's got some tankiness. He's got some crowd control, but no one realizes that. Like, no one realizes how exactly, like, super squishy he is. Like, he is so incredibly easy just to destroy. And, you know, once people figure that out, like, Nasus is going to fall off. Because you'll see in any competitive game, Nasus is not picked up, like, ever.
Not too much.
It's extremely,
what we'll see
extremely
happen
rare
in
for
competitive
Nasus to be in the
games
game.
is that when people do play Nasus, we have people like Doug who will play him as support Nasus.
Yeah,
and grab
like,
the,
more focused
you know,
on buffs and like a little bit of control. Other
Exactly.
Buffs, CC, debuffs. I think, I don't know, I'm really happy with it. One, like, side question that just kind of came to my mind, how do you guys... So, one of the things that's been bugging me about when I'm playing is I'm finding it's even more crippling than normal to not have chat. How... So, like, and this is an argument we had a ways on back, and I don't even necessarily know on the show. I think it was just an argument I'd had with people in the community before. But, like, what do you guys feel is the merits of having an actual chat system versus ping only?
I think really when I was first, you know, playing in the recent beta, first stream with that, when my account level was at level 2, and I started to first start streaming and was doing mainly solo queue, I would agree with you 100% that having a chat to be able to teach people, you know, hey, go here, the merits of doing this versus that, you know, is important. But what I'm seeing now at higher play, even when I solo queue, that people are more receptive to pings than they are to anything else, and they start understanding what you generally mean by a ping. So, like, nowadays when I'm solo queuing, I'll go ahead and start upgrading creature on forest or whatever, and I'll ping that, you know, a couple of times, and now I've got people here. They actually are responding to pings. So, I think really what
Every now
chat
and again,
is useful for would be, A, facilitating that transition to learning better communication and awareness in the game for newer players, and B, explaining things that are more difficult to explain or coordinating in ways that are difficult to do beyond a ping. Like, you can't tell a person, no, don't upgrade this, upgrade that using a ping. You can't tell a person, don't summon that there, summon this there with a ping. You know, it's
or,
those types of things.
Who to focus. That's
who to
always my
focus,
thing
yeah.
I'm trying to figure out. It's like a lot of times I'll have a team where it's like, you know, like I can tell that like the other people on my team haven't realized that like, no, they, you know, don't care about that person. We need to start killing this other person.
Yeah.
You know, like we need to kill. Like, don't stop fighting the Trip and go fight the Nasus.
Stop
who's
fighting
actually
the
killing it.
Margrave and start, you know.
Well, and it's not even like bad. Like it's not even like bad decision. Like it's one.
Well,
usually people are smart enough to like not focus the Margrave or like, you know, that kind of stuff.
Nice.
But occasionally you'll have moments where it's just like you're trying to kill the Trip, and normally that would be a good idea, but this other thing is happening over here, and you should really be focusing on that fight. Or
Yeah.
like, people just don't notice that there's a push going on or something. And I think
Exactly.
like that's the times where it's like I want a chat system really badly, and
Yeah.
partially because pinging is so hard. Like in terms of the amount of time it takes to do like the right ping is way more.
It's
like,
harder
way
for
more
me
important.
to do. Simply, like, using the right pings in game is very difficult to do because just how the mouse kind of works with that.
Yeah.
AK, it doesn't work with that.
Yes, sometimes it does. Other times, not
Sometimes it
really.
doesn't work at all. Like sometimes, like I'll hit C and pop up and open the UI, and it'll be locked straight down, and I can't
Yeah.
move it left or right until I move my mouse, literally the entire mouse pad's worth up, you know, to even get it to go left or right. You know, sometimes it doesn't work 100%.
Yeah.
Uh,
Oh god, yeah. My half of the time, my entire ping, like I can't ping at all after a certain point in the game. Like I'll get off like 2 or 3 pings, and then just the button will stop working.
I actually don't know. QuickDraw's asking a good question.
Yeah, I actually was about to answer. I was about to be like,
Oh, I don't know about that. I would say if we
Does it?
had
Well,
the Xbox people
I
here
don't know.
to play
I
with
haven't
us
played on Xbox.
and explain this, yeah, I was gonna say we're all PC, so I don't know.
Does, but I don't know for certain. I'm going to go ahead and throw an Xbox stream here in the background.
Oh, hold X to select type. There you go, Sloppy.
Oh,
Got it.
Yeah.
beautiful. Sloppy's got it. Sloppy is a man with the plan.
With
So,
the words and the.
you know,
But,
in
yeah, I
PC
think
environment
that's-
it's rough to do, but I'll agree with you. Being able to choose that proper, you know, ping is important, but
Well, and to place it, it's
to
also
place it.
it's more important. Like the amount of time it takes you to ping in the right place with the right ping is proportionately a much longer percentage of the game than in something like. You know, so the primary time, like, if you ever talk to people about, like, hey, should we not have a chat system, always what gets brought up is that Heroes of the Storm does fine without a chat system.
Well,
At least
it
not
has
an
a
all
chat, yeah.
Well, it doesn't have an all chat. But, you know, it's mostly everyone uses pings because they developed a good enough ping system that it wasn't a problem.
Yeah.
Also, oh god, the typing. The typing.
Sorry, I'm answering questions. God,
Buy a quieter
why is
keyboard.
my voice cracking? Ah.
Because you're
But,
sick.
but like,
Yeah,
you know,
it's
you look at something like
probably
Heroes of the Storm or League of Legends, it's much. The game itself is much slower. So taking like 2 seconds, like scrolling to
Go
the other
ahead
side of the
and
map
type
and
something,
picking the
yeah.
right ping isn't a big deal.
Or
Whereas,
typing
like,
in chat even, you know.
Well, or even typing in chat, but like I oftentimes like I could type what I wanted to say faster than it would take me to ping it.
Exactly.
In the right, like to think through, like,
then
wait, what am I
we need
pinging
to-
where, and then go do it.
And you, I am assuming, are a little bit more familiar with Overwatch than I am, aka you've probably watched some streams, I'm hoping. Is there a chat system in Overwatch?
I don't believe so.
I know they have voice comm.
Well, and I think that's
Yeah.
somewhat a different. Overwatch, I think, gets away with it because it's a much more it's a much more guided game. There are
Yeah,
less choices.
It's a lot more linear.
Yeah, it's a lot more like, you know, if you're playing Payload, your entire team knows where they're supposed to be. Like, you
Yeah.
can't backdoor Payload. Like, and I think that's one where, like, the game is simple enough that you can get away with having poor communication because, like, it's kind of on, like, if you want to do some crazy complex plan in solo queue, it's on you to figure out how to communicate that to the rest of your team.
Yeah.
Like, you know, it's one of those, half of the joy of pulling off some ridiculous plan is actually figuring out how to pull off the ridiculous plan.
Like
Whereas,
calling
like-
Rezo strats, you know, 2 minutes
Yeah.
into the game. Hey, let's summon all of the points on their creature, on their points before ours.
Yeah, whereas
Oh
like
my
something
God.
like doing it in Gigantic, normally pings would be fine, but like you do need there are really complex situations in Gigantic, like you were saying, like the sort of like don't upgrade that point
Yeah.
back there because we are about like
Or
we're
don't
about to get a
upgrade
push
right
and-
now because they're
Yeah, or
about
like-
because they're standing right outside of our point right now. You know, don't
Yeah.
upgrade that creature here yet. Wait until the
Or-
fight and then upgrade.
yeah, or, like,
or
don't
wait until
upgrade this to
they're
this, or, like,
upgrading. You know,
yeah.
to push in. You know,
Or don't summon on the enemy side because it takes forever.
Oh god,
Hey,
that is the number one
we-
thing I wish I had. I wish I just had a ping that was, "Dear God, stop summoning here." Like,
Yeah.
but that's
Here-
the
here's
one
the
ping
thing,
type
though.
that doesn't exist. That
There
I
is
want.
one time I have ever seen summoning on an enemy point happen in a way that wasn't terrible. Right as we were going into Clash, we were going in ready for the last push. Our Taito summoned a creature. This is on Ghost Reef. Summoned a creature on their cavern.
Oh,
Not-
just to like cockblock them, essentially.
Not even that. Just summoned that. The bloomer went up. We had a bloomer on their cavern in Clash.
And so what? That probably died like instantly, though.
No,
What?
I don't know why.
Well,
but
I
they
mean,
didn't.
yeah, there's obviously the potential for the other team to be horrible at the game and let you get away with it.
Yeah,
But, like,
that's really
like,
big, but yeah.
I've had games where we've cross-summoned, and it's like, oh, right, yeah, because we're up like 20 kills to 2, of course we can cross-summon now.
There are some places where it's like cross-summoning, is worth it and whatnot. I've even found that even when you're not that ridiculously ahead, and all you've really done is gotten that early advantage, you fought on their intake, you pushed them out, you either wiped them or got everybody but one. Now you can summon on their point and start saying, you know what? We're going to make this early dominant play. We're going to go ahead and sit here, and you're going to have to deal with this point.
Yeah,
because I've been on the receiving end of that strat.
Yeah,
it's not
that's
fun.
An issue. That's an issue, isn't it? Because that kind of goes into this whole snowballing thing. Because it's like once you have control of that point, and then they have all the experience from wiping you and getting that creature summoned. And I'm really sorry. Did that make a loud noise? That was an accident.
Nope, not too bad.
But they have all that experience now. They're so far ahead, and the enemy team is just flabbergasted because they're just like, well,
yeah.
God, they just took
and
that
what it'll
point.
do, especially if they haven't wiped you, what'll happen
you
is
know
it
it,
starts
they're too
turning
far
into
ahead of you.
a tumbling death train. Is like what
Yeah,
I will call it,
exactly.
where you're starting to throw yourself at the point 2 or 3 at a time, and you can't get that advantage. We had our last game last night was like that. Freaking, they took our Vista, and everyone on my team is throwing at it. Falco's like, why are we doing this, guys? Stop! And we're all just going in. Eventually, we pushed them off, but it sucks to be in that position. Like the way we had to get them off is I was playing Beckett. I had to put a level 2 focus down and get a triple kill just to get them off of my point.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's nothing quite as like morale crushing. It's like the equivalent of getting the point in God. I keep making weed comparisons. I keep watching LCS. That's my fault. But it's like the equivalent of like when they start actually taking the buffs on your side of the map. It's like, okay, yeah, now we're just losing. Like, it's like even if like
this isn't our
statistically
point
you could
anymore.
probably come back. It's like once they start
almost
summoning
won
on
that
your
game.
side of the map, it's just like.
And
You
here's the
either
thing.
really
Here's the
have to
thing.
band together, or it's just like that's the morale crush. Especially
Exactly.
if it's solo queue.
And
If
here's
it's
the-
solo queue
here's
and you
the
are not talking
worst
with them,
part of it, Perry, is that is more morale crushing than being down 2 wounds to nothing going into Clash.
100%.
Like, that is so much more morale crushing. Because you could be down 2 wounds going into Clash, but have all 3 of your points upgraded. Now you've got the chance to actually do something still. But if you're going into Clash and you only have 2 points and neither of them are upgraded because you can't spend any time doing anything other than trying to get Vista back, you're done. That's it. GG.
Yeah.
Game over.
Especially if neither of those points are a bloomer and you can't upgrade to a bloomer.
Yeah.
Like it's just it's
game over.
impossible. It's literally impossible unless the enemy team completely somehow just F's the F up. Like
Yeah.
just
Throw the
there's-
game.
There's no possible way to win that
Exactly.
kind of situation.
And
Yeah.
it's rough, but this is what, is happening. And when it really comes right on down to it, there are ways to counteract it. You could say, you know what, I can't take Vista. Can't do it. Fine. Let me go attack on their intake instead. Let's go over there. Let's get them off the point. Let's fight them somewhere else. Let's
Or it's
recruit.
not even do that. It's like you
Backcap.
could send someone
Take their
back,
power orbs.
Backcap, take their power orbs. There's a lot of different things that I feel like people don't really realize they can do.
Yeah,
'Cause
and
it's,
I
it's
think
not always about point control. It's about orb control.
Yeah,
If you can
and-
collect all
Yeah.
of your orbs and all of theirs.
then
Like,
you're going to still get pushes
there's-
anyway. And so what I
nothing
think
they
that
can do
really
about
is a
it.
good indicator of is
that's a word.
Indicador.
no one is into Condor.
Ashley's Indicador.
I hope not.
Not like that. Jeez, get out of here.
God,
But
dirty mind.
what that's a really good indicator of is the kind of learning curve that's going on right now. It's easy for people to learn how to group up and how to properly push for points nowadays. I'm seeing that, people are understanding, okay, here's how I play as a team even in a solo queue environment.
Yeah.
But what people still are having to learn is the more complex, the more kind of in-depth things you can do. Like, okay, our team is going to push here, but we're going to send 2 people to go back and take their power orbs in one of their back creatures. Or we're going to try and do a backcapping strategy, like Failco is so fond of doing, you know? It's these sorts of higher-level plays that people don't 100% understand. Because, I mean, to be fair, they're not 100% explained in any way. You know, it's not explained that you could take any. In the tutorial, there's not a point where they tell you, "Hey, you could take enemy power orbs," or "Hey, go back behind. They're on your point. Go behind them and kill their creatures and get their power that way." You know, there's nothing telling you to do that. This is things you learn by playing the game and trying new things. So.
And
the learning curve
on Gamebox, cough.
Yeah, I think the learning curve is the for this game is starting to really show itself because we've had all this, and I like it. I really do. It's pretty quick. You know, I think it kind of does it kind of goes up a little bit because it's harder. You know, it's pretty steep to start with because it's harder to really, you know, understand some of the base mechanics of the game if you're not familiar with it. But then it kind of just quick, you know, goes straightforward. You're like, okay, yeah, this is really easy to kind of understand. Oh, I should probably be with my team here, or they're pushing here, let's push there. You know, this point is pretty strong. We've done that a couple of games, so obviously there's something strong about River. You know, those sorts of things. But then right at the end, you hit another cliff again, where it's like, now there's some more in-depth things to learn, like how to properly manage your stamina, how to dodge properly using the iframe dodging to dodge damage, how to go ahead and get behind the enemy team and steal the power orbs, or even just get the creatures off the power orb during a tie situation so that your power orb captures first.
Yep.
These are strategies that we see in higher competitive play because we've been here long enough to figure these things out, but still need to be learned by the newer people coming into the game.
Yeah, I think, I don't know, honestly, I think the game's in a really, it's in a solid place, and I think it's good to see it's going to be good to see more iteration on it.
Yeah, which is why, you know, them coming out with all these new things, you know, Paco being showed off, all the new prototypes being shown off, the new map, you know, things like that.
Yeah.
This is when they need to come out with those things because the game itself is in a solid place. You know, there was a couple of people in the Reddit who were saying, "Oh, this game doesn't feel that complex," or, you know, some people say the balance of this hero is pretty bad, or Screw Canyon is still a thing.
Oh God, I hate that.
But you know, overall the game still feels generally pretty good, pretty solid, and now is when we can get more iteration, more heroes coming out, more play styles popping up, new maps, more mechanics, when am I going to get my controllable Guardian, please?
No, never. That's not a thing.
It needs to be a thing. You were going to say something, though, Perry.
I was just going to say, I really like what we've been seeing recently in terms of, like, some of the new prototypes.
Okay, yeah.
Like, you know, we saw, I mean, a couple of them just, like, briefly on stream that weren't necessarily, you know, weren't necessarily complete in any way, but, like, Glyph looks really fun, you know, in terms of just, like, explosions. I'm totally down with that.
Yep.
You know, I think it's fun to see, and, you know, even if these are, like, months away, I think it's cool to see, like, what's kind of coming down the line in, like, a very vague sense.
It's also nice to have some validation here, because we've been sitting on 15 heroes, now 16 heroes, for, what, 6, 7, 8 months? You know, we haven't really seen any true development.
Almost a year now.
Almost a year now, because they released...
East
East
was
when they released Griselma and Wu, right? No, Aisling and Wu.
Yep.
So, you know, we've been sitting on these small, you know, pool of heroes for this long. It's nice to see some validation saying, you know what, they aren't just sitting around saying, no, we only want this, we don't need any more heroes, fine, whatever.
Yeah. No, I mean, I think we knew that, but, like, it's definitely good to hear. Also, tiny little iterations, like, finally we have death timers.
Yeah,
it makes me so happy.
The UI update, UI updates, like,
we will have them.
They're here. Like, they're kind of tiny and not really that noticeable. But when you notice them, you're just like, oh my god, this is really good. Like the orbs, like they now, like, you can see where they're summoning on your mini map, and like it shows you a
and them actually capturing in the timer. Yeah,
it's like
but like the death timer thing. Like, the death timer thing is such a big deal for me.
We've been wanting that for how long, though? You know, like...
Since Yeah, ever since I found out
know.
that death timers increase with more deaths.
Ever since I spent like literally 9 hours with like half of the people like working out that, including with a couple of Motigans trying to work out what the actual formula was for death timers. Like we literally spent like 6 hours, including 2 Motigans, trying to work out what the formula was because no one knew what it was.
Greg didn't know what it was?
No, I don't think Greg did. I don't remember exactly who it was because this was like a while back. But we like literally sat and we were like, what is the formula for this and why does it work like it does? It was like finally worked it out. It was crazy.
Oh man, that's
What was it? I'm curious. Do you even remember?
They might have changed it. It was something like, it's like, oh god, it's like it's actually relatively complicated. It's like the amount of time you've spent in games, the amount of time that has happened in the game up to, it's minutes in the game in seconds. So like, if you're 5 minutes in, the base is 5 seconds, plus 5 seconds, or no, it's not minutes in the game, it's level of the highest leveled person in the game. In minutes is the base, plus 5 seconds for each person that dies. Or at least that's what it was like a while back. I don't know if that's what it is
so
now.
Weird.
It's one of
works.
those, like, it makes sense in general. I mean, I think there's some stuff now, because, like, I think now there's actually if you get, like, a full ace on the other team, it, like, adds 10 seconds. You know, like, there's some other things. But some of which actually came out of that actual discussion, because we got through the end of it, we're like, this doesn't, like, there's some scenarios where this really doesn't work out, like, the way that it should, like, you know, there are times where, like we worked out there's, like, times on Mistforge where it was actually more advantageous for you to die and respawn back on your side of the map, because it was faster than running all the way out. Like, it was like, if you're like, it's like 3 members of your team have already died, it's faster for the rest of your team to just wipe on their side of the map.
Or waiting for your respawn timer to get all the way up to like 1 second left with the last person live, and then dying, because then it's just a 3-second respawn for your entire team, and they're pushing, you know, something like that.
Yeah, there's some like really weird scenarios like that happen to actually work.
And then now we've got some ways to stop that.
It's smaller ones, but
we
still.
are, however, getting close to the end of our show. We've had a lovely, full, and fantastic topic sets here today. Great, though, that we were able to do this on the fly. By the way, fun fact, we had absolutely no idea what we were going to talk about like 5 minutes before the show was starting, when we were like, let's talk about this, because we were expecting to talk about the Xbox experience, but, you know, hey, whatever. We are able to do literally everything here at GG Unleashed. Sitting here, $300 of my money waiting for Motiga to give me that Founders Pack, please. Really, it's not even Motiga, it's Microsoft that we're waiting, because we're going to be selling through Microsoft.
Yeah,
so.
I feel like Motiga's like so ready just to throw it at them, and then
Yep. But that is, however, going to be about it for us today, guys. We had a lovely, lovely chat. Tons of fun. We actually had a good crowd in here today. I'm going to attribute that to the Gigantic Community Council, 100%. If you guys want to go back and watch that for a serious feels trip, go ahead. It was a couple of the Motiga devs, specifically Troy, which is Emma Wather, the communications lead, as well as Emma Huggles, who was a previous Motiga dev, who was laid off with the first set, who's just hanging out at the office now because she can. But they came in. It was a lot of fun to listen to all those, so feel free. I think they talked about some new stuff, did they? I don't remember. I wasn't there for the entire of it.
Yeah, it was. Warning in advance, it's like 3 hours long.
Yeah, it was a long time. So
I'm like
go ahead and check that
out.
out, and we'd love to thank all of you guys for popping on out. Always, like Wolfie's saying, check us out every week, Saturday, 3 p.m. EST. Always a lot of fun in here. Next week, it's always on Friday. I'll go ahead and put up a post on the Reddit saying what we're going to talk about. Always follow down below. You'll see right below our GG Unleashed thing there, at GG_Unleashed, Twitter, for live updates when we're going to start going live. Today I had to go out and say, hey, look, we're calling an audible, so you'll also get those on there. You can follow me at Schmugludorf. I will say directly when we're going to go live in response to the original tweet, as well as, tweeting when I'm going to be live streaming, because I do live stream as well. Twolfman is the same. Follow him at Twolfman, and follow at Noirbot if you want some awesome random things pop up on your stream. But that's going to be... Ooh.
One quick thing, I realize this is a little early, but as of right now, I will be at PAX East. So if anyone else is going to be at PAX East, feel free to reach out to me. we should meet up. I don't know if you guys are gonna be able to make it, but at least I'll be there and we can
I
hang out.
want to go
And,
really bad.
I
Yeah.
need to,
make
but
it,
I don't think so.
I need a ticket.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. That's the
Or I need
thing,
a
is the
pass,
passes.
yeah.
But
oh, actually, yeah, I'll talk to you guys.
yeah. So you can talk to us later. But that's going to be about it for us, I believe. You can always go ahead and check out our Facebook page, GG Unleashed Facebook page. That is a thing. You could check out our other affiliated group, the Gigantic Cosplays. They do their show on our channel, I believe. Or no, they have their own Twitch
Gigantic
channel as
Cosplay
well.
has its own.
Yeah,
they're
Gigantic
doing some
Cosplay has their
cool
own
work.
Twitch stuff. They're
Oh my
doing
god,
a
the Mozu
Mozu
stuff is amazing. Anyway,
Mozu cosplay, which is amazing. So you can go ahead and check them out as well. Go ahead and head over to our website, giganticunleashed.com, for the hero builder and any other cool stuff we've got there. And we do have also an email if you have any suggestions for future shows or any suggestions on how we can make the show better. That is it The Bull Rush or Bull Rush at ggunleashed.com.
I believe it's just Bull Rush.
I believe it is just Bull Rush.
We
at
need to write this
ggunleashed.com.
down.
Yeah, we need to write it down somewhere. No one's emailed us yet, so
Yeah.
we're just not popular enough. I'm
is
sorry.
Bull Rush at GG Unleashed?
Yeah, we'll test that in just a bit. But that is going to be it for us. We are going to go ahead and find another live streamer to go ahead and raid out. Let's see who is streaming Gigantic right now.
Yeah.
Really nobody. Really nobody.
You would think
Throw
on
them at
Saturday
anybody.
afternoon there'd
From
be more people
Sero.
on.
Awesome. We're going to go raid from Sero, guys. That
Yay,
is
from.
this derp here. If I can find his chat, please. There we go. We can go ahead and check him out.
Yeah,
Give
well,
him- give
isn't he
him
he's the
hype,
team
give
lead
him
over
the
on
love.
Warpath, right?
I believe
so.
so.
Team
yeah.
captain for Warpath Gaming?
I think so.
Believe so. So go ahead and check him out. He is an awesome person. So raid him out. Tell him GGU Bull Rush sent you on over. But that is going to be it for us, guys. Thank you so much for watching. And as always, we'll see you next time.